Welcome to Front Office Pros. Today, we're going to be talking about count them, five biggest NFL free agency winners.
Hike!
All right, so this is a collective top five between Joe and I. So let's talk about the first one. Joe, who do we believe is one of the biggest NFL free agency winners? These aren't players who are free agents that signed somewhere. These are just beneficiaries of the moves that took place.
Yeah, so the first one we've got is wide receiver Garrett Wilson with the New York Jets. And, we feel like he's one of the free agency winners just because he's got his former Ohio State teammate coming over to play quarterback in Justin Fields. Devontae Adams also on his way out. Alan Lazard, I think, will also be off the roster if he isn't already. So I just think there's a lot of different vacated targets and just opportunities and some new life with new coaching staff and Justin Fields coming over at quarterback to really get Garrett Wilson excited for the season as he's already been tweeting out.
Yeah, I mean, there was a decent amount of rumors swirling of the idea that Garrett Wilson would get traded or demand for a trade. I think both you and I felt like even if he was going to try to do it, the Jets weren't going to accommodate the trade. He's probably one of the most, if not the most talented player on their roster. So for them to acquiesce to his trade request, I just didn't see it happening. So if he's stuck in New York, I would have liked to have him get out of New York. But if he's stuck in New York, like you just mentioned, he's now the go-to guy. I'm not confident. Even Fields did okay with DJ Moore, right?
Right.
So Fields is predominantly seen as a running quarterback. He does take advantage of that. But if you look at the Jets team with Devontae Adams going to be gone, or he is gone, and Alan Lazard probably going to be gone, you're not talking about a lot of options on the offense unless maybe Malachi Corley. Hopefully, we'll see. I drafted him. I hope he would use him, but who knows? Maybe he gets involved. But reality is he's the guy. So, for Garrett Wilson, fans, what can you ask for? I think as long as he stays in New York, and with Fields, that contract, it's really a pretty heavily guaranteed for 2 years. So, unless Justin Fields bombs, we could be seeing Fields the next 2 seasons.
Yeah, I think that is the plan. Well, I think Jets will. I don't know. Maybe they'll take a late round flyer on one of these quarterbacks and maybe try to develop one. In the midterm here while they got Justin Fields for these 2 years. But it will really be interesting to see how this Jets offense will kind of change and evolve here.
Are you enjoying this episode so far? Well, if you are, subscribe to our YouTube channel, smash that like button, and hit the notification bell for upcoming videos. We do videos throughout the year, so you're not going to want to miss what we have in store. All right, Joe, so who is our second biggest NFL free agency winner?
I'm going to go with quarterback Jayden Daniels with the Commanders. And, he gets not only Deebo Samuel, Zach Ertz is returning, which I think is a big deal for him. Laramie Tunsil coming over in a trade to help, really help out that offensive line. After Cosme got hurt last year, that line definitely was a little bit shaken up there. So I think Tunsil comes up and helps fortify that. And as Jayden Daniels looks to build off of his really nice rookie year.
You're seeing that Adam Peters, the general manager, is really starting to put some pieces around Jayden Daniels. A lot of times it feels like some of these young quarterbacks are kind of, left to the wolves to try to kind of continue to have these Houdini-type performances to keep going. You saw, even a guy like Josh Allen, they traded for Stephon Diggs to really have him start to excel. You saw even with Jalen Hurts trading for A.J. Brown so he could excel. This is even earlier on, but they weren't messing around. They went ahead. Adam Peters has familiarity with that San Francisco 49ers front office. He's able to acquire Deebo Samuel. Now, they do say that maybe his separation isn't what it used to be, but I think he's still a dynamic player, great yard after catch guy. So I'm with you. I think for what you've seen what the Commanders do, I think they're doing positive things as far as building that offense around him.
Yeah, 100%. And it was, you know, knew they were going to go out and do it. They had the money to go ahead and do it, and they did it. And I think this will help motivate Debo Samuel too. I mean, I know a lot of people were saying he was out of shape and heavier last year with the 49ers, so hopefully he gets that cleaned up and returns more to the Debo Samuel we're accustomed to seeing.
All right, Joe. So who is our third biggest NFL free agency winner?
Yeah, going to stay at the quarterback position. Another rookie quarterback from last year. I'm going to go with Caleb Williams. I know this wasn't necessarily in free agency, but they go ahead and get Ben Johnson to be their head coach. Now, really, as a true offensive minded guy to help mold him, hopefully, kind of create ways for him to get the ball out of his hand faster so he doesn't take as many sacks. And also in terms of that, they've also made a lot of moves in building up that offensive line around him, especially in the interior, to try to help form that pocket for Caleb Williams. So really think it's all the pressure is going to be on Caleb Williams to perform now. The Chicago Bears went ahead, building up the offensive line, giving them Ben Johnson. It's going to be on Caleb Williams to go ahead and kind of put up or shut up this year.
Yeah, and it's not popular, I guess, in what we're trying to spin this, but the biggest free agency acquisition was Ben Johnson. Having the playmaker that he is to be able to work with a guy like Caleb, which honestly, I know you and I have messaged a little bit. He's kind of had some subtle shots, maybe unintentionally, to Jared Goff, and being the play making ability that Caleb Williams has, that he's never had that before. It's like, but either way, at the end of the day, I think, what were you going to say?
Well, he's not wrong. I mean, Caleb Williams has a lot more athleticism and stuff than
Sure.
Jared Goff does, and mobility in that standpoint. I mean, I know people took it as a shot, but it's matter of fact.
It is a matter of fact, and I think at the end of the day, we're going to see if Caleb. We're going to really see if Caleb, like you said, is put up or shut up here. Is Caleb this generational talent? They're saying he was Mahomes-esque. Are we going to see that out of him, or is he going to crumble? I don't know what will happen, but I'll be very curious to see how it unfolds.
Yeah, 100%. I know everyone wanted to blame the offensive line. I think, obviously there's blame to go on both sides just because Caleb also hangs onto the ball a ton. So that's what I'm most curious about is they've upgraded the offensive line. Can Ben Johnson, like I said, just try to coach some of that ad-lib stuff out of him and get rid of the ball faster? And everyone was saying Chicago was such a great landing spot for him because they had, Odunze, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, but then all those weapons don't matter if you can't get rid of the ball.
All right, Joe. So who is our fourth biggest NFL free agency winner?
Yeah, we're going to go with kind of a combined here. Really the Seahawks running back room, but it's, Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet winners just because, again, not necessarily to do with the free agency, but it happened. But they get offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak in there. Kubiak system, they like to run the ball, have a lot of success in that zone blocking scheme to be able to go ahead and run the ball effectively. So I think it'll be more of a shift in the offense, run first, let Sam Darnold kind of go off of play action. And, really trying to give Sam Darnold the best chance with the limited weapons he has. And I think, Kenneth Walker has shown to be a really good value at the running back position as long as he can stay healthy. That's the big key. But if he can, he should have a really good year this year.
Yeah, I guess based on the system, which one do you think, if you had to choose one of that, which one do you think benefits the most? From the Clint Kubiak offensive coordinator selection between Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker, if you had to say.
I guess I'd say Kenneth Walker first and foremost because he's the starter. Charbonnet really doesn't get the playing time, unless Kenneth Walker goes down. And I do think Kenneth Walker is just the best overall back, but I don't know enough about their running styles and stuff to know like which one fits best in the type of like blocking scheme that Clint Kubiak's going to bring versus, what they had last year.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I would lean towards Kenneth Walker as well. But Kenneth Walker has not always been able to stay healthy, and Charbonnet's really taken advantage. But I think you and I both believe that they aren't going to want Darnold throwing 40, 50 times a game.
No.
This is a play action offense. They're going to heavily rely on the run. And so to me, you're going to see more opportunities in the run game.
Yeah, 100%. And until we see also some other moves added to that wide receiver room, it's just even more so the case that they're going to be pounding the rock.
All right, Joe. So the last one, you and I went on a little bit of a limb. So if everyone stuck around, they're in for a treat. So who is the last biggest NFL free agency winner?
Yeah, we're going with wide receiver Javon Baker with the New England Patriots. And a lot of this has to do with the buzz, around camp saying, with Mike Vrabel coming out saying he's got an instant connection with Javon Baker. A lot of people are coming out and saying Javon Baker is the best wide receiver on the Patriots roster. Then, Chris Godwin goes back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which was great because that means he wasn't a New England Patriot because he was turned down a lot of money and he would have been a New England Patriot in my eyes. So that doesn't happen. And, there are some different veteran wide receivers still on the market, but they aren't on the Patriots roster yet. And I really think there's potential for a second-year breakout to happen with Javon Baker.
Well, it was interesting. We heard Drake May recently go on a podcast. I believe it was Chris Long's podcast, and him talking about him believing that Baker or Polk, both former rookies this past season, that there's a possibility they dealt with some nagging injuries. They were just they're just rookies, right? I think we're spoiled. We see guys like Malik Neighbors. We expect these type of players to have immediate impact. It's not, and a lot of times it's not the case. So even him was thinking, May was kind of thinking that one of these guys, if not both, may step up this year. So somebody's going to have to step up. And the beauty of it is that they didn't sign anybody other than Mac Hollins at the wide receiver room. And
Right.
They desperately needed a wide receiver, so they say. But maybe they felt, I guess, that doesn't preclude them from trading somebody or signing one of these veterans, one free agents. So that could come in time. But for now, in this present moment, you and I think that Baker has a lot of upside. And it's not only just the upside. I think, like you said, it's also the current events, right? We're hearing them saying that Patriots brass believes he's the most talented. We're hearing that he's really focusing this offseason. We're hearing that Vrabel and him have had this instant connection. So there's a lot of things going in Baker's favor, which is why we chose him instead of some of the other Patriots receivers on the roster.
And I just really like his, talent profile and his skill set. And one of the problems with Jalen Polk last year was he just simply couldn't separate. So I think that's still potentially going to be a problem for him. And that's why I would put Baker ahead of him in terms of that standpoint. And, Mac Hollins, he's an interesting veteran receiver. He's also really good on special teams. So I think that could also be part of the reason they brought him in, and maybe not so much the impact that they want or plan that they have for him, on the offensive side.
The only thing when it comes to Mac Hollins, though, is that when he was in Las Vegas, when McDaniels was the head coach, that's when he really came on the scene. So I agree to the extent that he is a great special teams player, but that might be one of the reasons why he ended up going to New England, because he was the most successful as a pure wide receiver under the McDaniels system in Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's true. They were throwing it to Mac Hollins instead of Devontae Adams, and that was pretty frustrating as a Devontae Adams owner.
At the time, yeah, absolutely. So that does it for this episode. We talked about 5 of the NFL biggest free agency winners in our eyes. Hopefully you found this valuable. Go ahead and put in comments below who you think was the biggest NFL free agency winner. Be interested to hear what you have to say. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time.